Hi guys. We have a lot of
Aloha.
different. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just clicking here and there because I have to accept everyone. So here we have our keynote speaker. Nice to see you guys. I know some of you, for the rest is the first time I see you. I hope not the last one. Um, okay. Okay, so we have Drake. Hello, Drake. Can you? I don't see you. Oh, yes, I see
Can you
you. I
hear
see
me
you, but I
now?
can hear you. Yes, now I can also hear you. Great.
Perfect.
So um, the conference is recorded. We are going to share it with each one of you at the end of it, and with the people who weren't able to participate in real time. There's a lot of members of Ikare Longevity who watch these replays. So it's going to take 1 hour, roughly a couple of minutes of presentation, so that you understand the context we are and what we're doing, and then 30 minutes of presentation from Drake, and then 30 minutes of question and answers. Most of the time, people have lots of questions. The idea here is to share practical insights into longevity, less science, more, less theory, more practical stuff, so that people can take something away and apply it in their lives, like starting tomorrow or tonight. So that being said, let me share my screen and let's get going. Okay. Okay, so this is one of our Ikare Longevity workshops. Our tagline, our purpose, we're mission driven. What we want to help people is help them reach this goal of living more than 100 years in good health. And thanks to the recent breakthroughs in medicine, this has become in the last years an ambitious goal, but yet attainable one. So there's countries who already use this kind of tagline to create clinics, like for example South Korea. Some of them have hired the best longevity experts in the world, such as Singapore, for example. And we should follow those examples and apply preventative medicine more in our daily lives wherever we are in the world. So the way we do this with iCare is through two different strategies. One of them is this community, iCare Longevity, which is 100% free, and we provide as much value as possible to people. And this is what we're doing right here, inviting keynote speakers with very specific expertise in longevity-related topics. Today, it's mental fitness. And what we do for the people who want to get really serious about it and get personalized help is provide a team of experts which guide patients through their longevity journeys. So we pair each patient with a medical doctor and a health coach with expertise in longevity, um, trying to recommend the best practices, the best blood labs, and give them the sort of the 80-20, like the 20% of measures that generate 80% of the value. Because as you guys know, longevity is a very complex discipline. And you could do so many things which are related to longevity that at the end of the day, you don't have a life if you follow all the recommendations. So we really want to give people like very simple insights and recommendations so that they are not only able to understand them, but also apply them and turn them into practical habits, consistent habits. Okay, so this being said, let's get going and introduce Drake Kirkwood, who is a mental fitness, health, and baseball coach also. And he's going to talk today about the relationship between mental fitness and longevity. So that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Drake, you can share yours if you want to. You have some slides.
Perfect. Thank you, Gabriel. I will quickly share my screen. Just let me know if you guys can see this.
We do. It's cool.
Excellent. Okay. All right. I think that's our best setup there. Well, good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for having me here, Gabriel, hosting this or presenting on this eye care workshop. My name is Drake Kirkwood. I am the owner, operator of Mind Mastery with Drake, my own coaching business where I do one-on-one coaching, team consulting, and presentations like this. And it all has to focus on mental fitness training. So yeah, as Gabriel touched on there, the goal of this conversation is to introduce you all to mental fitness, and the idea is we can live longer with mental fitness and applying certain practices and principles to our individual lifestyles. So very quickly, just a little background on who I am, where I come from. I grew up playing sports. I was an avid hockey and baseball player. I was able to earn a baseball scholarship to the United States. I'm from Canada, if you couldn't tell by the accent. And I played in Kansas at a junior college and then transferred to a Division II in Columbus, Georgia. And I really fell in love with the mental side of the game, of being a competitor, an athlete, and learning how to win at a higher level. Because obviously, the higher you go up in any sport or profession, the more talent you come up against. So you got to find a way to, get an edge over your competition. And after graduating, I knew that I just wanted to pursue something in psychology and the mental side of performance. So just a few guidelines to consider to get the most out of this workshop, this conversation. Let's keep it light. I'll invite you to keep an open mind, an open heart. That's the most conducive for learning and taking in what I have to offer here. Please engage, take notes, write down some questions. We're going to have a good Q&A at the end of this. So please, the more you engage, again, the more you'll learn. And have one key takeaway from this conversation, just one. It's loaded with practical tips and bits of advice. If you can take just one thing, start applying it to your life today, this will be worth the next hour or so. Okay, why is mental fitness important? It was interesting. I was reading a little bit on the eye care website, and 80% of health issues are chronic disease related. And as we all know, chronic disease are preventable. So the name of the game here is prevention. And I think the number one tool you can take advantage of is your own brain and your own mind. Who here has ran a marathon before? I have not.
Semi-marathon for me, and
Awesome.
some other competitions.
Nice, nice. Semi-marathon. Um, if you have, like, good for you, you're a braver soul than I am. But just imagine you're about to start this marathon here, okay? And Um, as your mental fitness coach, I come up, give you a few words of encouragement, and I do something kind of bizarre. I tie your shoelaces together. I triple knot them. They're not coming undone easily. Give you a pat on the back and say, "Okay, good luck. Yeah, I'll see you at the finish line." Would that be very effective? Of course not. But this is kind of what we're doing in the 21st century in regards to cultivating a mindset that isn't benefiting us. Marathon is life, and obviously we're trying to live 100 plus years. If you're not training your mind and developing a winning mindset to navigate your lifespan, those 100 years, it would kind of be like running a marathon with your shoes tied together. Not very effective and certainly not very enjoyable. So that's why mental fitness is essential and really, I think, the most important topic we could be discussing today. So what's the objective of this conversation and getting mentally fit? If there are three basic buckets of goals that everyone I think are pursuing, we've got wealth, financial freedom goals, we have health and longevity goals, and then we have love and relationships. So if you were to, if I were to give you $1 billion with a B, and you were not mentally fit, that money would get old soon enough. There's a reason why 70% of people who win the lottery end up going broke 3 years later. They're not mentally fit. They're incapable of handling that responsibility. Same thing with your body. If I were to give you your dream body right now, perfect muscle mass, lean physique, athleticism, and mobile, if you're not mentally fit, you struggle to maintain that dream body. And even with a relationship, if I were to give you your dream partner, whoever that might look like, if you're not mentally fit, you're going to be incapable of enjoying and appreciating and reciprocating their love. It might take months or a few years, but eventually it'll be a challenge. So again, this just touches on the importance of mental fitness, cultivating a mind that is enjoying life. And if we're aiming to live 100 years, why wouldn't we want to enjoy all those years? So what is mental fitness? Mental fitness is an empowered approach to mental health. It's about empowering you, the individual, with the knowledge and skills to prioritize your mental well-being. It's a philosophy that combines timeless practices and principles like meditation and journaling with modern day psychology and neuroscience. So it's a really holistic um, balance to bringing out the best in you and your performance. So who do I work with? I work with gentlemen like this, men and women, high performers, athletes, entrepreneurs, executives, to name a few, really anyone looking to level up their life. You can't really help anyone who doesn't want the help. And that's why I really enjoy working with people like yourselves, high performers or high achievers who are looking to achieve ambitious goals like living 100 plus years. Do you ever feel like this? Overwhelmed, confused, worried, anxious, maybe fearful, doubtful, indecisive? What about this? More confusing, anxious, can't sleep at night, thinking about what you did earlier in the day or what's coming up the next day. We all experience this. These are natural mechanisms of the mind. However, the goal is to just limit how much we're experiencing things like fear and doubt. And in the 21st century, again, there's a reason why so many people are dealing with chronic diseases. They're cultivating a state of being, a state of mind that are operating in lower energies like fear and doubt and indecision. So, what can you expect after getting mentally fit? How about more energy, discipline, focus, and purpose? That sounds all right to me. Just imagine, what could you do in your life with more energy, discipline, and focus? Just take a moment to think about that. Write something down. What could you do with more energy, discipline, and focus? Okay, let's transition. There are three phases to mental fitness. And the first one has to do with energy. Allow me to introduce a concept, infinite energy. It's this idea, this fact that within each of you, you each have a stupid amount of energy. Just think, you've got roughly 40 trillion cells working together to keep you healthy, to fend off disease, to generate thought and feelings, to take action. It's incredible. It's a lot of energy, but we don't really tend to think of that or remember it. And I'll illustrate this through a quick story. So this is Susie, and Susie just received a devastating phone call last night. Her boyfriend, or rather her ex-boyfriend Brad, called her and said, "Hey, Susie, listen, things aren't really working out, and I think we should take a break." Now this crushed Susie, and let's fast forward a couple weeks. Susie's been struggling. She doesn't have much energy. She just, wakes up, goes to school, comes right back home, goes to bed. She's not really eating much. She's not hanging out with her friends. Her grades are starting to slip a little. And her friends, it's been a few weeks, and they want to help her. So they say, "Hey, Susie, we're going out tonight. Let's go have some fun, have some laughs, a few drinks, and get over this breakup." But Susie says, "No, I don't want to do it. I don't have the energy. You guys go on without me." Susie receives a phone call shortly after from Brad. Brad says, "Hey, Susie, um, I've been thinking a lot in the last 2 weeks, and I think I may have made a mistake. Do you want to meet up for a cup of coffee and just to talk about some things?" Susie's elated. Now, she is still pissed off at Brad, but nonetheless, she all of a sudden feels this burst of energy inside. She says, "Okay, I'll meet you in 30 minutes," hangs up the phone, um, whips out of bed, gets dressed, puts on some makeup, and rushes out the door to meet him. My question to you is this: where'd all that energy come from? Was she struck with a lightning bolt? Of course not. The energy was always within her. It was just restricted. It was dormant, and that's kind of the power of her mind and her heart. They were restricting that energy flow. But at the moment, hearing someone's voice over a phone call asking a certain question, it just unleashed all of that energy. And another question to consider is this: what if you use your mind to train yourself to never stop that energy from flowing? How would that change your life. Do you think that's even possible? Well, it is. There are three practices or habits we can instill to energize your mind. The first one comes down to brain nutrition, adding brain foods to your diet. Now, the beautiful thing here is we do not have to reinvent the wheel. We simply just have to add a certain handful of foods to your existing diet. So you don't have to worry about overcomplicating this. So just a few action steps. There's going to be a lot of action steps throughout the rest of the presentation. Again, just a friendly reminder, take one key takeaway from these and implement it into your lifestyle starting today. So one thing you could, just add one brain food to your diet. Some brain foods, some of my favorites and some of the top researched brain foods are broccoli, dark chocolate, avocados, walnuts, turmeric, eggs, wild fish, salmon, and water. Add one of these or add more of them if you are already enjoying them. Another really simple rule, more water, less of everything else. There's a lot of sugary, addictive drinks out there. If you can increase your water intake, lower your sugar intake, that would have a wonderful benefit to your brain energy. The second habit involves mindful movement. Again, I was very fortunate to just form this habit early on by practicing for sports, and it's something that's stuck with me. But a lot of former athletes lose this habit. And I think the number one key to implementing this habit and maintaining it is doing something you enjoy. I think every single person on the planet enjoys moving their body in some capacity. So whether it's dancing, sports, lifting weights, running, walking, you name it, the key is something that you enjoy and can do on a daily basis. Few action steps. Again, make it playful. Make it easy for you to show up and do. Imagine yourself doing it. Is it something you could do 10, 20, 30 years from now? If it is, it's probably an action or an activity that aligns with who you are. Go for a walk today if you haven't already. Take a break. Give yourself a worthy brain break with a nice 15-minute walk, free of phone or technology. The third habit to unleash your brain energy and energize your mind is getting quality sleep. Unfortunately, this is exceedingly becoming difficult to achieve in the 21st century with technology, things like Netflix and 65-inch televisions and fantasy sports to check at night. We're really up against it. Nonetheless, it is possible to implement just a few key sleep habits to improve your sleep quality. The third one here, the 3-2-1, is a great exercise to implement. So all it is no exercise, intense movement 3 hours before sleep, no work 2 hours before sleep. This can be difficult for us entrepreneurs and high achievers, but necessary. And again, no screen time 1 hour before. If you can implement this simple 3-2-1 exercise, it will dramatically increase your sleep quality and make getting consistent sleep hours more achievable. Let's move on to the second phase of mental fitness, which involves disciplining your mind. Again, the longer you want to live, if you want to live a high quality of life in your 70s, 80s, 90s, you're going to need discipline through your thoughts and behaviors. The first one is meditation. Meditation is a timeless practice, and it's really cool. I'm sure most of you know this, but research has found that meditating actually extends the length of our telomeres. Those are the little bits at the end of our DNA strands. And, to just put it simply, as the telomeres shorten, we age. Meditation stops them from shortening, and in some cases has shown to lengthen them. So it's a really fascinating insight. And again, to simplify why this happens, in the 21st century, we're constantly in this fight or flight state of being. Our nervous system is constantly turned on. And the problem with this is we don't give it time and space and stillness to calm down and heal. Because when we do calm the nervous system, we give it more opportunity to do just that, heal itself. And again, chronic disease, we're talking about prevention here. If you can give your nervous system the ability and the time to do more healing, it will naturally boost your immune system, keep you from aging, and enhance the quality of your body and your lifestyle. Box breathing. I did this before this call to help calm my nervous system. Very simple technique. It's inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for another 4 seconds, and hold empty for 4 seconds. Do this 4 times. It's a great exercise to calm your nervous system. Really effective for beginning the workday. If you notice you're emotionally charged, just to give your body and your mind a moment of space. Journaling is the second practice to help discipline your mind. You were made to write, and your mind, if we want clarity of mind and peace of mind, which who doesn't, writing is a great exercise to achieve this. Brain dump is a great way to journal, just getting your thoughts down on paper. There's so many different ways you can journal. Gratitude journaling, if you want to feel better any moment of the day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It's like turning a switch, a light switch on. It's amazing how quick it works to just shift your energy and get you focusing on all the many blessings and things you do have. Again, the brain it's wired to focus on what we don't have. It's wired to focus on the negative. Through mental fitness training, though, we can start reversing that. And again, in the 21st century, that's the opportunity we're blessed with. We don't have to worry about where our next meal is going to come from, or where we're going to sleep tonight, or fending off, saber-toothed tigers. So rewiring our brain to tap into more of that abundance, gratitude mindset will help with health, longevity, and quality of living. The third way you can discipline your mind, read. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. I always resonated with that quote. And naturally, we are reading a lot more just with email and texting and messaging online. But there's a difference between unintentional dopamine or quick dopamine hit reading, like text messages or email, versus intentional reading. So choosing a book that aligns with a goal you're working towards is intentional. Reading some fiction at night to help with that wind down process is another beautiful way to intentionally incorporate reading to help discipline your mind. Let's move on to the third phase of mental fitness. Getting on purpose, focusing your mind. There's a really cool story I'd love to share with you all. Just kind of the epitome of a winning mindset. So this gentleman is Lieutenant Jason Redman. He is a former Navy SEAL, and he was on the verge of going home, close to his retirement, actually, on one of his last missions, and something went, long story short, the mission went awry. He was severely mutilated. He lost his left arm and his, one side of his face and his body was severely damaged. Fortunately, he did survive. He was rushed to a hospital, and early in his recovery, he overheard a doctor and a nurse talking. And the nurse was explaining how bad she felt for all of the wounded victims in the hospital, in that ward. And this infuriated him. This pissed him off. The following morning, he had his wife put this note on the front door of his hospital room. Allow me to read it here. Attention to all who enter here. If you are coming into this room with sorrow or to feel sorry for my wounds, go elsewhere. The wounds I received, I got in a job I love, doing it for people I love, supporting the freedom of a country I deeply love. I am incredibly tough and will make a full recovery. What is full? That is the absolute utmost physically my body has the ability to recover. Then I will push that about 20% through sheer mental tenacity. This room you are about to enter is a room of fun, optimism, and intense, rapid regrowth. If you are not prepared for that, go elsewhere. Talk about a mindset. And I believe he trained that mindset throughout his life, and anyone can do that as well. So the three habits when it comes to focusing your mind, getting yourself on purpose in life. The first one has to do with identifying your core values and principles. Now, your core values are simply what the handful of things, no more than 5, that are truly important to you or the stage of life you're in. Core values can change over time. And then principles are irrefutable laws that if you do X, then Y will happen, like the law of gravity. What goes up must come down. That's a principle. If you haven't already, take some time today to clarify your top values. The best businesses in the world have core values. The best individuals or successful people have core values as well. The second element here involves getting your belief system aligned. A lot of us are operating, myself included, on limiting beliefs. Now, this has stemmed from conditioning in our childhood, past traumas, fears, inadequacies, and that's okay, but we have the opportunity as we get older to rewrite the script, to identify those limiting beliefs and rewire or choose empowering beliefs. Most people never capitalize on this opportunity. I know I certainly wouldn't have unless a mentor introduced the idea to me. What are your top 3 limiting beliefs? Do you have empowering ones that overwrite them? If you haven't identified your top limiting beliefs, when you do, a fun little exercise is to completely reverse them. So if you have a fear of speaking, public speaking, complete reversal is I love public speaking. I love getting up in front of thousands of people and sharing my what I have to share. Kind of bizarre. You'll feel very uncomfortable reversing the limiting belief, but it's a good way to expand the mind and whatnot. The third habit here involves mental chatter. Getting clear on what your mental chatter is like, the inner critic within. And if you are a high achiever, a high performer, you probably have a pretty severe inner critic. It's part of what's led you to being, successful, but it's going to limit you once you get to a certain level. So a few action steps to consider. Observe your inner critic. Again, your harshest critic is often yourself. Develop a self-made mantra, something that just makes sense to who you are and where you're going in life. This can be anything, just a sentence or two, something to help ground you, especially when you notice you're engaging in negative self-talk or a negative state of mind. Okay, that concludes the philosophy of mental fitness. And I hope, as I was describing that, you could relate it to your current lifestyle and your goal of longevity, living a long, fulfilled life where you're mentally, physically, emotionally active later in life. And it begins now, frankly. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. The same goes for your mental fitness. Now, moving forward, please follow me on social media. I am on most social media platforms at Drake.Kirkwood. I believe, as Gabriel mentioned, there'll be access to this workshop. I will also write up a follow-up email to share with everyone who is present on this workshop call. And if you did enjoy this presentation and think you or your team, your business might benefit from a similar message, I am doing more speaking engagements, so please feel free to reach out to me to talk about ideas and setting that up. And lastly, before we hop in the Q&A, I do have some availability for one-on-one coaching. As I mentioned, I do one-on-one coaching, team consulting, and presentations. So if you would like to explore a potential partnership, take a screenshot of this image right now. And if we do, decide that we're a good team, we make a good partnership, then this will award you 25% off whichever program you enroll with. So take a screenshot. And with that, I will turn it back over to Gabriel and we can set up the Q&A.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you very much, Drake, for your insights. There are a lot of things you said that resonate very strongly with me. I have also noted that down some questions. Usually, there needs to be an icebreaker. So I'm going to be that person. But after that, please feel free to ask your own questions. So my main question here, Drake, is related to anxiety. I don't think I have an energy problem. Um, right now, I mean, I had, but I've worked a lot, and the personal coaching has changed my life over the years. So I think I've fixed that. I don't think I have that many limiting beliefs. I've worked a lot on that, and I had a lot of them. But I tend to set very ambitious goals to myself. And most of the time, the projects and my planning to be successful in those projects doesn't take into account their complexity. So I end up having high goals, very limited timelines, and at the end of the day, I still sort of succeed, but at very high cost when it comes to anxiety, lack of sleep, and so on. Um, and what is even more difficult is that now I'm not alone in those projects anymore. There's people around me, and I have a sort of very strong commitment to them. I cannot just shut them down. So, do you have any ideas, any insights into what would be the right way to go when you're in such a situation?
Yes, certainly, Gabriel. Thank you for sharing that insight and offering the question. I think it's super important, one that a lot of high performers can relate to. I know I certainly can. There are two things that come to mind. The first is boundaries. So, this is something that is often difficult for high achievers, high performers, is trusting that they can honor a boundary to put their health, their joy first. You've spent your whole life developing these beliefs, these mental habits that, I need to work harder to achieve this lofty goal. And there is benefit to that. However, the counter to it is you're also developing the habit of not being able to turn off or not trusting that there are other forces at work that can help you achieve the lofty goal while affording you time to rest, reset, and recuperate. And something, as it relates to eye care and the goal of longevity and living a quality 100 years of life, the longer you delay this ability to enjoy the process and whatnot, you won't have that habit or that skill when you do retire or when life does slow down. Your mind will be in the habit of not having those boundaries. So it really is something that I think you can understand is necessary to your success now and with your lofty goals, but also looking further down the line to your success in older age. The other idea that comes to mind, Gabriel, is what do you think the purpose of setting a lofty goal is? Just very quickly.
There's a part of me who wants um, to succeed in things that are considered as very difficult or even impossible for some people. And in my life, I've reached such goals, and it's been such a great driver of motivation for me. And it comes back to my childhood when my dad would be very hard on me and telling me that I'm unable to do this and that. And my mental mechanism right now is to set very high goals, and then everyone tells me it's too hard, you'll never make it, and I would go against that kind of mindset and opinion of people surrounding me. And one part of me takes out a lot of energy and motivation and pleasure to reproduce this kind of mechanism. But at the same time, I kind of overcharge myself. And I know it's not good for longevity. And there's different tests that I've passed, epigenetic clocks and stuff like that, which showed me that I had chronic stress, and it would be maybe great for the short term, but catastrophic on the long term. In terms of telomere length, also, I'm 43 right now, and my telomere length is the one of a 52 years old individual. So it speaks by itself.
Right, right. Yes, interesting. That's great information to know. And yeah, it's to kind of tie back to what I had mentioned. You're 42 years old. You've spent 42 years developing this conditioning and this habit. So it will require some work to let go of it and really change that belief or whatnot. I think the purpose, the way I like to look at goals, especially lofty goals, some people like to set realistic goals. That's their logical reason mind taken over, which is fine. Some people like to set lofty, highly ambitious goals, and that's more of the divine mind or the dreamlike mind at work, which is also a good thing. But you need to apply some temperance to both goal setting approaches. Setting the goal is like choosing your direction. Here's my North Star. That's where I want to go. Whether if I achieve the goal, great. If I don't achieve the goal, great. It's not really the goal that matters as much as the entire journey it'll take to pursuing that North Star. Sri Kumar Rao described this on a talk, and it resonated with me so much that whenever I do set goals, I try and keep that in mind. It's just the direction. Once I set the goal, I can stop focusing on it and transfer that focus to doing the work, to enjoying the process and the journey. So that's what I would offer you, and I hope it
Mhm.
helps.
Nice. Nice. Absolutely. Thanks. Anyone
Thank you for
else?
the question. Does anyone else have a
You're welcome.
question?
I just wanted to add, if that was okay. Gabriel, you sound so much like me. I've always set goals that, the people around me said, "Oh, you're not going to be able to do this," and they're instead of being my fans, they were actually people that tried to hold me back or didn't believe in me. Um, and it was interesting. I had a dialogue one day with God, and I said, God, why is it that I always set these really goals that a lot of people think are unrealistic, but with you, God, I know all things are possible. And he basically said to me, the reason why I'm doing that with you is I know you have it within you to achieve them all. However, he said, your problem has been, Maria, and thank you, Drake, everything you said is spot on. God bless you. He said, however, your one issue is surrender. And like you said, Drake, trusting the process and the timing for me to jump in and help you also. You try to do everything yourself and then you run yourself down, and then here you are going out there helping people with their longevity and health and wellness. And sometimes you're putting yourself last. So I had to reprogram my mind. So thank you. Amazing presentation, Drake. I had to implement a lot of work to reprogram this, to put into my calendar surrender to God. And I live in beautiful Hawaii, and to basically go out there in nature and just learn to have fun. And you know what happened, Gabriel? And I hope this can help and resonate with you. Things started to happen. People started to come in. Uh, Opportunities started to come that were helping me with that project that people said was not going to be possible. And you know what? Everything became possible and they all became believers. So I don't know. I just wanted to add that. And thank you so much, Drake. I actually also work with an inventor, and we help the Navy SEALs. And I also work with a lot of athletes. So it was very interesting that we have a lot of parallels. So we might be speaking after this. So thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for that share, Maria. I'm glad what I had to offer resonated with you, and super cool hearing your just that one example in your life. Surrender is it is a powerful idea, and I think there is absolutely something to letting go and trusting that there's something more, within you and um, externally helping you along the way if you do trust it.
Say something. If you have, Gabriel, I really appreciate your question because I could relate to it, and so I was very happy to hear Maria as well. And it's funny that you talked about surrender because I've been thinking a lot about that. Like it's like so many decades of your life, you spend your time working with your mind, like training your mind, you go to school for your mind, everything's about your mind, and your mind has been like super programmed to think through everything. And you think, this is all that I have is my mind. And when we talk about surrender and letting the universe happen, it's a lot of it is like letting your heart, but there's been no conditioning. I never went to school for my heart. I just went to school for my mind. So, how the heck do I now condition my mind to kind of just let the universe happen? And Maria, what I have seen, and I'd love your feedback, is that when you start to surrender, because there was a part of my analytical mind, like, how does that happen? Like, how does that happen? It sounds like airy fairy to say let the universe happen, and like I can't really logically understand that. And what I realized is like you show up more confident. I think that's how you attract people because nobody wants to hang out with a very insecure person for a very long time, right? So I think what I have, like, I had to understand that for myself. Like, how does that really happen? But I think what I'm seeing is that you show up with more, not just confidence, but just love that just comes through. And then you attract the right kind of people, and the people who you don't attract, it's probably a great thing they don't come in because there's no need for them to come in. And so I don't know. I just wanted to share my perspective that it feels like it's a journey. You can't just like snap your fingers and, condition your heart so fine. But it takes a while. It takes a while, but just like any other muscle, like he's saying, like you just have to keep doing it is what I've learned. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita, for the share there. Yeah, it's for me, I think it might be more challenging for men, certainly, to the idea of love and keeping your heart open. Um, there's an analogy that I always enjoyed. The mind is the older brother, and the heart is the younger sister. The older brother wants to protect the younger sister from any type of pain. And the challenge there is we forget how to use our heart. The heart is a tool, and it's a very powerful tool. The younger sister is very powerful, but an overbearing, over brother, overprotective can limit that tool or power. So that's always something I try and remind myself of is let the heart feel what it needs to feel. The mind doesn't need to protect it all the time.
I have
Does anybody?
yeah, if nobody has any other questions for now. I have another question. You've mentioned what you called brain foods. And my question is, what exactly is the definition of a brain food, and why have you chosen those ones? I know they are longevity compliant and stuff like that, but it's like the general information. Are you specifically aiming at some specific nutrients or molecules or anything that you find in those vegetables and fruits and not in other ones?
Right. Yeah, great question. So those, if you're familiar with Jim Quick, he's written a book. He's a brain coach, and he's done research that suggests those, are the top 10 brain foods for energizing the brain. I know blueberries, I'm not exactly sure the molecule that promotes it, but it helps uh, keep the brain from aging. Walnuts are great for detoxifying the brain. Omegas, obviously in the fatty fish and whatnot, good for uh, brain neuroplasticity and building as a stronger brain. So as far as the micromolecules and at the molecular level, I'm not exactly sure what those are, but I did get my I do refer to his top 10 brain food list, which is Jim Quick's.
I see his book in the background on the like
That,
your left side.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Can I also add, I practice ancient Greek practices and tools. So I've studied like Hippocrates, Pythagoras. So I do all that sort of ancient healing. And it was interesting because, and I'm sure other cultures did as well, but I can't validate this. But the ancient Greeks looked to nature, and each ingredient in nature takes the form of a body part. So when you look at the walnuts, it is the shape of a brain. So therefore, when they did further analysis, without all the scientific stuff that we have nowadays, God was the connection. They found that it's good for brain health, which is exactly what Drake just said. So if you look at sweet potato and then you go into the benefits, it helps the pancreas. Uh, so every single fruit and vegetable and nut, if you pay attention to its shape, its formation, it will tell you exactly what organ in the body it helps heal and nurture. So that's a technique that I use as well when people have a specific illness or condition to a particular organ, which is basically what Drake does. He's got his 10, 12, whatever it was, sorry, things. I do the same thing, and that's where the walnuts, I just thought I'd say, came up in ancient Greece.
It's so
Interesting.
fascinating how they knew
Yeah.
that. They had that knowledge and wisdom thousands of years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other questions? We are approaching the end of the conversation, so I think if there are no more questions, we're going to wrap up. So thank you very much, Drake. Again, I hope some of the people here, at least, and some of the people who are going to watch the replay are going to resonate with what you said and are going to contact you on LinkedIn or by email or whatever. So let's keep in touch and push the needle forward when it comes to increasing the visibility of the longevity practices in everyone's interest.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Gabriel. And thank you, everyone, for your time and attention. Wishing you all a great day and stay well.
Bye bye, everyone. Thanks for attending.